Massive fallout for the losers in these preliminary finals. Port Adelaide and Geelong, they were both absolutely smashed. Will be asking themselves, I think it's a real mental battle for Port. It's a list management decision for Geelong. But let's take a look at the midfields where they were both smashed and the age demographic. Ross, how do you see this? Because they were underwhelming, weren't they?
Well, I think they were different. They were the same result, but Port were at home, home crowd, ready to roar. They were in their beds. They had a really an easier run. Geelong were in Perth, locked up in trade wins. And look, that age profile, they were ready, they were primed. So there's not too many challenges, but I think Powell Pepper's a real issue. I think for his ability and what they've invested in him, for him to start as a sub in a midfield that needed a big contact game, there's some question marks over him. And at the end of the day, they didn't deliver in that. They were minus 23 contested ball in the first quarter, broken tackles. It was left to too few. If Wines was hitting in, but other than that, they didn't jump on board. So a lot of hype, didn't get it done.
And they lost this stat by 23 in the first quarter, Ross. Contested ball, game over.
And the game shifted back. West Coast and Hawthorn didn't value contested ball highly, but there's been rule changes. Get hold of the ball, contest the ball. And that's where Kenny be most disappointed, because they built up a brand, and then in the end of the day, mentally, they didn't deliver, so they weren't primed to get it done.
Yeah, let's look at Geelong. And this is where Chris got some huge decisions to make. This is the midfield. And look at the age demographic of it. They need to blood some youth in. Ross Parfitt was a big loss. Who knows if Narkle will stay at the club?
Yeah, they have. And Parfitt was a massive loss. So I think you go up to there, it's really strong. But Selwood, I think you talk about how many hits have you got in there. He's been a warrior. And you saw the youthful, like Oliver and Petraka, less busted up. He's a little bit busted up. I think Higgins, in the end of the day, didn't deliver. Smith still got his run. Dangerfield really knocks himself around. He had a posterior virus. Menegola, in the end, forced inside. So, and O'Connor was missing. So they got some work to do. You can't fluke a prelim. No. So I know the pressure's coming on, but at the end of the day, they didn't get it done. There's some mitigating circumstances, but they'll dive in and they need to get creative and they need to, I think, regenerate a little bit through that midfield.
You speak about diving in and being creative. We want to look at the top 8 and their draft hands coming forward. So what can they do? And Ross, you don't mind what Geelong have got because they can try and put those together and get down the order.
Well, I'm no expert, but the list managers and recruiters will tell you, give us a cluster of picks. Get them within 5. So anything in the top 40, if you can get 3 picks in the top 40 and they're outside of the top 10, they're really good picks. As the percentages are about the same as pick 17, 18 of producing a good player, and it enables you to manipulate the draft. So I think they're in pretty strong shape. And can they package them up for an earlier pick? I don't know, but Port, first round pick and then not much. They're going to have to shoot the lights out at the back end. So Geelong, I think what you're talking about, they've got an opportunity to get some young midfielders in, and we'll get to some of their other positions.
The Giants in a great position there with 2 and 13. We're going to look at Port Adelaide's forward line, which did not fire a shot either in this preliminary final. And the key position players, we've got Jeremy Finlayson, Ross, with a question mark. I don't really like that idea, to be honest, but he's in discussions with the club. Yeah,
well, it surprises me. He hasn't been able to consolidate GWS. I'm not sure the tall forwards were their issue. Their midfield we went through got obliterated, and their small forwards got monstered by Bailey Dale and Bailey Williams. I thought they owned Fantasia and Gray and Rosie and Butters. I thought they were little. They pushed them out the way and dominated them. So I'm not sure. They know their list better than us. Obviously, it's full-time, but I'd be surprised if Mitch Finlayson's the solution to the Port Adelaide failure in the prelim.
Yeah, and down the other end, obviously we've got to look at Trent McKenzie, and this is the other issue. Trent's been a good trier for Port Adelaide, but I don't think he can be your key position player in a grand final side, and Norton just showed how big and powerful
he was. Well, that's not lace out. No. That's just a stand and deliver mark, and he had the intensity and the urgency. That's been pulled apart all week, but that's the beauty of prelims. Your weaknesses get laid bare, particularly when your midfield can't protect your defence. But at some point, you've got to be able to defend a high ball in and a one-on-one. That's not lace out. So they've been exposed last year by the big power forwards, and it happened again.
Yeah. And on this, so we talk a lot about the midfield. Tom Stewart, Ross, wasn't it huge, that loss? And they never really recovered with him being gone from the side. I just wonder what they'll do with Henderson. Taylor went, maybe Henderson. Blicavs didn't have a great final.
Well, Henderson's been fantastic for them. I thought when Taylor retired last year, how they're going to go, but what they were able to do was put Blicavs back there a little bit. But Stewart wallpapered over a lot of cracks in their midfield pressure. But their ability to defend one-on-one for a BNF winner was really disappointing, and I reckon Scarlett and the match committee would be horrified with some of the contests they got beaten in.
Yeah.